going through and trying to understand his medications. And I talked to a friend of mine who is a nurse, um, and we discovered that he was on some medication that was possibly causing him to be so lethargic and sleeping all the time. And so they discontinued that this morning, and so hopefully that'll help him wake up. But I'm on a mission to get him home, and so I want to bring him home so that he's no longer in an environment that I can't control. And so if I can just get him home and start getting his therapies in the house, and taking care of from there, I think that I can affect a better change than what he's doing right now. And I know it's a hard course, a hard way to go, labor intensive and all that other stuff, and a huge sacrifice for anybody who is a primary caregiver for somebody who is um, totally unable to do for themselves. But I think that it would make a extreme difference, and so that's my plan. And so I'm just trying to walk forward with that plan, and then we'll see how it goes. So thanks for asking, and I will keep you posted. I'll definitely keep you posted as we go forward. I still have the suggestions that you gave me, and so yeah, that would be great to share. So the other thing, so let me do like I always do before I get too far ahead of myself. From the introduction of A Course in Miracles, it reads like this. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The aim of the course is not to teach the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to your awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposites. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way: nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Ooh. So you guys, I will tell you, since I have been here on ACMI Gather and teaching the class over at the church here, it seems as though I have been so extremely blessed, as if doors are opening that I didn't even know were there. And so as I continue to move forward, and to let me say, since this stuff has happened with my father, I think there's something about the busyness of life, of being busy, that kind of attracts more activity to your life and to your space. And so the more that you get outside of yourself, you seem to receive more. It's as if you create a magnetic field around you that continuously draws more and more people and activity your way. And so when I say that I'm feeling so blessed, it's because I have so many rich experiences that are coming to me. I don't know if you, as you're listening to me, what your regular day is like, if you even work outside of your home, or how many people you come in contact with on a regular basis. But it is like it's something when you get to stoke the fires. I guess I don't know how you call it, when you're fanning the flames, and the hotter you get, it seems as though the more people want to draw close to that hotness and that intensity. And I mean, not hot, but yeah, just like a flame. It's like you just want to come closer, draw near, and warm yourself up against that. And so that's kind of one of those things that I'm finding in my life. The more I'm doing, the busier I am, the more out there I am, the more that comes to me in my experience. And so that's enough to just excite me in and of itself. The other thing is that there is, so I, part of me hears this thing like, let me talk about charisma, but the other part of me is saying, that talk about the cost of giving is receiving. That's what the course says. The cost of giving is receiving. So as you give, it becomes this cycle. You participate in a cycle, and as you give forward, more comes to you so that you have more to give. It's as if you step into the very flow of life, the essence of what we're all here to do, to participate in something that is larger than we are. And so, I find myself that, as I give, I receive. As I give, I receive. As I give, I receive. And so it's just so wonderful. um, I'm always telling folks, even as they come to my class, it's not necessarily for me that I tell people that whole thing, that ideology, or that cost of giving is receiving. It's not for me that I tell them, but what I found in myself is that as I participate, as I move and step outside of myself, I receive more. So, it's if you want something, if you believe that something is lacking in your life, then give what it is that you want to receive, with the expectation, that you're just participating in the flow. I listened to one of those books by Rhonda Byrd, a book on CD, and she was talking about this very thing, about the law of attraction. And she said that whenever you're giving love, it's as if, or loving whatever it is, you're drawing more of it to you. And so, in order to magnetize anything, you have to do it in a loving way, sending it positive energy, sending it good vibrations. Um, and so it's so funny, because I think a lot of times we get caught up not understanding. It's as if people will say, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spend my time, or my money, or my talent, or whatever." And the very person that you're withholding from is not the people who you think are benefiting. You're withholding from yourself. And so it behooves us to, if we want something, to give that, to spread it, to be out there, to extend ourselves. And so that's what I wanted to say about that. If you want whatever you want, affirm it in another, give it to another, see it in another, celebrate it in another, whatever it is. Just make sure that you're participating in a positive way in the flow of everything that's going on around you. And that's one of the things I have to be mindful of with myself all the time, because it's amazing to me. I am, not that I begrudge anybody anything, but like today, I was at the doctor's office. I had a doctor's appointment today. I went to the doctor's office, and there was a woman that was sitting in the waiting room, and she was simply covered with tattoos. And at the risk of her actually ever listening to this, I will say that right across her chest, I mean, it was just in big letters, in cursive letters, right across her chest, it said beautiful. And I thought, well, if you're really beautiful, then it speaks for itself, and you don't necessarily have to, tattoo it across yourself or across your chest, and hope that it becomes true or stays true, or whatever. I mean, it just, some things are just, what do they say? Just obvious. It's just stating the obvious. And so you need not write it all over your body so that somebody thinks that. But I suppose it would be nice if everybody just walks up to you and reads your chest and it says beautiful. I don't know. But then it was also funny, because after I, passed her and I had my thoughts about the tattoos that she had on her. After I passed her, I go in and I sit in the nurse's office for me to get my vitals taken. And the nurse had 6 tattoos. And so I thought, oh my gosh, maybe it's me, maybe it's me and my thinking about all these tattoos. Maybe everybody else has one, and I'm the lone holdout without tattoos. I don't know, but whatever the case may be, I recognize that in order for me to be a part of this thing, this all that we're all participating in, this atonement, this salvation, all of that stuff, I need to get beyond my thoughts about things and just let them be as they are, to love regardless, and not saying that I ever withheld that love, but sometimes when we get caught up in our judgments or our thinking about things, we do have a tendency to block. So if I want to really remove the blocks to my awareness of love's presence, let it begin with me. Let me not block it by thinking that people ought to be any other way than they are. So as I'm sitting here, I am like so excited because, part of me was earlier today, because I was in a waiting room, I had a chance to get into and read quite a bit. And so not only was I reading the course today, but I was also reading Joseph Campbell's book that I've been reading for the last month now, Thou Art That. And I don't get a chance to read it all that often. But when I do, it's like I open it up and it's like, wow. The other funny thing about that is that I keep saying I'm going to actually buy the book. It's overdue at the library now, and I need to send it back to the library and get my own book so I can write in the margins and highlight wherever I like and all that good stuff. And so I need to do that, whatever. So, it's interesting because today, as I was reading about Joseph Campbell and Thou Art That, I was also simultaneously reading chapter 2 of A Course in Miracles again about the separation and the atonement, and how the idea of the separation made it necessary for the atonement. That we have never really, in honesty and in truth, been separate from God, but in our minds we have been. And so it's so interesting because some things just totally just jumped out at me. And it was so interesting as I kept reading over and over again. Um, so I want to share a couple of things here with you, and then talk about it in the sense that, one of the things that Joseph Campbell talks about is the myths that we live under that inform our lives. So as he talks about the myths, he says that there's several different ways that we can see things. If, say, for instance, the idea of God is a collective idea, no matter what culture you're in, there are different ways of expressing that same type of thing. So he said that one of the things that Carl Jung used to ask people was is if they believed in a God that was form or a God that was formless. So when we talk about, when a lot of times here in the United States, when we talk about God, we talk about it as if we see some masculine entity, male entity that sits high on a throne and, has this long flowing list of people that he's kind of watching over. We don't necessarily talk about it in the sense that it transcends our understanding of physicality. So we talk about it as we talk about it as a thing, as an entity, as all of, this, as if it is a tangible object, rather than this idea that it can possibly be spirit, and that this spirit transcends everything that we see. So it's kind of like this perception that we have of the very air that we breathe, that, and I don't know about how you see air, but when you see air, most people, when they see oxygen in air, they think that air exists in an airtight room, and then it kind of stops at the wall, and then it picks up on the other side of the wall, as if the very solid things aren't fused with that essence of what air is. So no matter where you see it, no matter what it is, it kind of like osmosis is kind of a part of and beyond and everywhere here in this atmosphere. Let me put that in this atmosphere. On this level, we have this thing called air, and it's everywhere. So the same would be true if we use that analogy with this thing called spirit. That spirit, transcends everything, that it is the very source out of which everything that we see is made. And so, if we have a different perception, or if we start talking about God in a different way, talking about it from a standpoint of it is a spirit or is an energy that transcends everything that we see, everything that it is the very things that we see is made out of this substance that we know to be God. So whether it is the airways over which I'm speaking, whether it is the energy, the power that turns on a light, or that is, whether it's in the framework of the computer system that you're using, whether it is a part of the circuitry, the intelligence that thought up a computer, whether it is whatever it is, it becomes this energy that transcends and is through, in and through everything that is. And so if we start to change around our definition, we no longer out picture this thing called God and think that we need to pray to it and ask it for things, or that we need to get back to a certain thing, but rather right where we are, right as we are, it is as present to us as our next breath. It is as present to us as the very water that makes up the cells and the tissues of our bodies, that the energy that animates our being, that gives rise to thoughts, that just everything. And so there becomes this idea, really in truth, when we say that there is no spot that God is not, and just beyond that is that it is the very essence of everything that is or could ever be, everything that was and everything that is right now. And so if we modify our idea of what God is, then we're no longer like out picturing it and saying, because I do this too, I say sometimes God willing and the creek don't rise. Or sometimes I'll say, yes, I'm so blessed, 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 blessed. But knowing that even as I claim my blessings and knowing that I'm blessed, it's as if that I get and receive according to my thoughts about things. And so if I say, like the Course does, the Course says that there is no emptiness, no void. Let me see how it says it in here. There is no emptiness in God. There is no emptiness, no void in you. There is, I'm kind of like ad-libbing on this, but there is no emptiness anywhere. And so if you understand that and recognize it from the way that the Course is saying, there is no possibility. So even this thing that we think of as space, the air that is around you, that places around you that appear to be without anything in them, those places are not empty either, because it is not possible for there to be any emptiness in God. Oh, okay. So let me kind of back up, because I want to say, okay, so it says here that there is no emptiness in you, because of your likeness to your creator, you are creative. No child of God can lose this ability, because it is inherent in what he is. Inherent in what he is. So if you knew, because there's a lot of times that people, I hear people all the time that say, oh, I'm not very creative, and they don't think that they're creating anything. And so, yeah, I know that I'm not as crafty as some of my friends. I've got friends that are extremely crafty. It doesn't mean that I'm not creative. I mean, I can, even as I'm talking to you, I can feel an energy or a presence that sort of gives to me, even before I can even think that I need another word. It kind of presents to me a next idea, the next thought, the next something, whatever it is. It's as if as I move forward, there is this divine presence that is there supporting everything, undergirding everything that I could possibly think that I wanted to share with you. And so as I just kind of move forward in that, the same would be true for you. Because if there's no emptiness in me, there can't be any emptiness in you. If there's no emptiness in God, if God is powerfully creative and then says that like Him, you are creative, you must too also be powerfully creative. And you're sitting there trying to claim that you are not doesn't make it true. It simply means that you've been misguided. It means that you've been misinformed, and it means that you have taken on an idea that is beneath what is your possibility out of what? Comfort? And so if we step into the allness that we are, if we step into our fullness, this fullness that is our lives, then we will see that all of this stuff that we think that we don't have is already present at hand because it is inherent. It is inherent means that by virtue of your being, of simply just to be, means that you have already been granted certain things, and that is your ability to be creative, to create, your all of that. Your the fact that you are loved is not dependent upon your recognition or your admission. It is inherent in who and what you are, because you are as God created you. You remain as God created you. And you're trying to, like Marianne Williamson said, you're trying to play smaller than that. Simply doesn't serve the world and is simply not possible. So you can think that all you want to. You can think yourself into littleness all you want to. But the truth about you remains the same, unchanged, until you get a clue about it. You can be wherever you choose to be. So I want to read to you a little bit here because I can. Darn it, I can. So um, so it says the inappropriate use of extension or projection. You guys understand what that is? Occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you, and that you can fill it with your own ideas instead of truth. Huh. This process involves the following steps. This is right out of chapter 2, Separation and the Atonement, the origins of separation. It says, first, you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. So now it's amazing to me. Um, we have so many people who believe that let me see. Because I want to give you a good example. I kind of hate when you hear people talking and it seems as though they're talking, but they don't have anything that relates to, like their life experience hasn't spoken to the very thing that they're talking about. And sometimes we try to be so closeted, so what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? Sometimes we try to be so secretive about our lives and our life experience that we kind of dilute it. We kind of lose some of the juice that was meant to be in there. So if we learn that there are no private thoughts, why not bring our thoughts and our life experiences to the table? It's because one of the reasons why we don't, it's because we're sitting there and we're thinking that everybody else is judging us. Well, I'll tell you, if I got past the idea of your judging, if I don't care whether or not you're judging, if I know that you and I are one, why would I care if you judge me? Why would I care about what you think about my life experiences? I had this life, this rich life that I've had, so that I can share it. And so if I feel judged or if I feel attacked, it's not because you did it. It's because I have first judged or attacked myself. And so I can't get beyond the level or at which I'm thinking. I can't get beyond what I'm projecting. So even if I'm projecting it onto you, I can't get beyond that. So if I'm sitting there and I'm saying that I feel less than, if I was to have that thought, I would say I feel less than because let me use this as an example, because I'm not married. Okay, if I was to say that, then that would be my own judgment about my marital status and not necessarily yours. You might think, oh, Sandra is not married. Oh, she is so lucky and she's so smart. I don't know what your thoughts are, but if I'm having judgments about it, it's because I'm projecting my judgments and not necessarily because you have them about me. And so many times in our lives, that's what we do. We think that we know what other people are thinking. As a matter of fact, I was sitting in class last week and this woman was saying, and I do this too. She was saying, you know what? I meet people and I automatically know right off what they're thinking. And I think to myself, yeah, I know exactly what other people are thinking too. I can feel what you're thinking. But now, what kind of stuff is that? I mean, you know, I know that I can feel that I think you're thinking about a particular thing, but it doesn't make it true. It means that I have projected onto you or onto this other person some thoughts that I may have about what they're thinking. And so unless I check and verify, that's just my thoughts. It's just my runaway thoughts I'm having. And so it becomes this thing. So now, first you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. So if God created something and deemed it good, thought it good, said, oh, it's good, then who are you to judge otherwise? So we have all these folks out here that are busy, busy, busy trying to recreate themselves, remake themselves, trying to do all of this stuff. But you remain, regardless of what you think, you remain as God created you. And you actually, oh, well, ah. So let me get to that other one. Let me go to the next one. Second, you believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. Now, imagine that. You believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. I have to call you back. So if you believe that it can be rendered imperfect or lacking, that's like saying that all of a sudden, if God created me and said that I was perfect, then by my thinking, I think I can render it imperfect or lacking. I mean, come on, really? Is that truly what I believe? So if God said it's good, I think that I know better than what God said, right? Or I think I know better because what? My thoughts are superior, or because you know what? Oh, here's a good one because we all do this. Remember how we did our parents? And like we always kind of like, back in their day, it was a particular way. Back in their day, they were, right on point, back in their day, but they don't know about today because they're now outdated. And since they're now outdated, they couldn't possibly know. They couldn't possibly relate. And so maybe you're thinking that because God is, said, let there be and created the earth, that he couldn't possibly, she couldn't, it couldn't, this thing, this essence of what we call God couldn't possibly relate to you because, nah, it's out of style. It's out of fashion. It's out of fad. I don't know what the thought is, but I mean, how could it possibly know what's perfect? And so yeah, we need to continuously add. I mean, add to ourselves because we've now decided that we're imperfect. And since we've decided that we're imperfect, and lacking, then we now need to add something, add it on, add it on, add it on. I mean, and you know what we add on? We add on so many things, thinking that it'll make us somehow better. We add on a little bit of education. We add on some hair. We add on some, some boobs, or we add on, what else do we add on? I mean, we add on so many things to ourselves, thinking that somehow it'll make or add to what is already perfect. How do you make more perfect something that's perfect? I mean, perfecter. I mean, how do you make, if it's already perfect, how do you make it more perfect? And if it is, how do you render it lacking if you already, how do you render what is lacking or what is perfect as lacking? It's just not possible. So if you were told that you were created perfect, then you have to accept that idea that you were created perfect and stop with this idea that you need to be less than what you know yourself to be. I mean, it's like this acceptance that, when God says yes to us, we have to say, yes, I agree. I mean, because your disagreement means absolutely nothing. And so, yeah, what is perfect cannot be rendered imperfect. The third premise is you believe that what you can distort, oh, I'm sorry, you believe that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself. Whew. And so, yeah, since you believe that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself, you're saying that if God thought you were perfect, God just can't see. His vision is no longer good right now. And so, if that be the case, then you know what? Who cares? Who cares, right? I mean, at some point, you believe in the distortions that you've created. So I always say that, when I see something that is not totally love, when I see something that is not totally perfect, I always say that I'm compensating for the distortion, and I put on my rose colored glasses. And as I put on my rose colored glasses, then what I see then changes, because now I have augmented my vision by putting on my rose colored glasses that temporarily enable me to see you, or see whatever I'm looking at as God sees it, as opposed to how I'm seeing it. Anytime I'm caught in judgment, I need to compensate for the distortion in my vision. The distortion is seeing something that is not perfect, and I know that all is perfect. All is well, all is whole, all is right. And so let me just do what I need to do in order to know the truth about that. Okay, so fourth, you believe that you can create yourself and that the direction of your own creation is up to you. So here's the other thing. I love this part because one of the things that the course says up in the beginning, in the introduction, it says this is a required course. It's a required course. And so we have this impression that you can create yourself and that the direction of your creation is up to you. But now what happens is there is this gentle course of life that we all live. And this course takes us down so many different roads and so many different paths, seemingly. And so a lot of times we think that we can, it's amazing to me. Sometimes we think we can get out of this process of life without going through the difficulties that are inherent in this that help us to grow. I was reminded today about something that happened to me. It's a story that I read, and it happened to me when I was overseas. When I was over in Italy, it was so neat because the whole way that their buildings are made are so very different from the ones here. The buildings that are there are these old buildings. So when you look at them, I mean, it seems like the walls are made out of some kind of concrete or mortar. And when they run electricity, which they now have in there, they run it on top of the walls. So they have these conduits that go on top of the walls where you would have your light switch and your electrical stuff, all of it, because they can no longer drill into the walls. Well, in the house that I was staying in, the apartment that I lived in, the windows had these shutters on them, and it, you click them and then you throw them open, and and they had the little shutters and all that stuff. It was so neat. It was, unlike I was used to, and so that's maybe why it was so neat. Anyway, in the morning time, when I would wake up, I would throw open the shutters, because so I could see not only, outside, but have light coming in and everything. I'd throw open these shutters, and a lot of times you would see sheep being herded down a street. I mean, a residential street. They would have all these sheep that were going down to the open pastures down there to graze, and somebody would lead them from their yard or their house up there on the top of the hill all the way down past there, and they would go out there and graze, and then in the evening they would come back up. Anyway, that's not what the story I was trying to get to. On this one particular, I opened up the shutters, and I see this little this thing that's on the side of the wall right by the window where I am. And I didn't know what it was. It just looked like it was just um, I I don't even want to say cardboard, because it blended in color with the, kind of with the bricks a little bit. And it was just there. And so, I was like thinking that maybe it could have been a beehive or something like that, but it kind of had that shape, and it was just right there nestled on the side. So I watched it and I watched it. And then one day I saw something trying to, chip its way out. Now, for me, dummy me, I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. And so, of course, I do like most people who can reach a cocoon do. You try to help whatever's in get out. And what happens is that rather than help this thing get out of its cocoon, you kind of stunt its growth, because part of the growth process is that it must fight its way out itself. So at the time, I didn't understand what I had done wrong, or why this thing didn't, turn into anything that was recognizable, and why it eventually died. It was because a cocoon, when a butterfly has to fight to get out of a cocoon, that struggle, that squeezing out of that little opening, is what pushes the blood through its body and back into its wings and makes it into what it is. Now, can you imagine, like me, thinking that I can choose the direction of this butterfly simply by cutting this thing open and trying to help it out? We all have this idea that our lives, we can kind of like maneuver and plan so that we escape some of the hardships that we have to go through, that are there for our own growth. So we, like we're going to insulate ourselves from all of this stuff. And then we think if we do just the right things, that we might actually escape without having to go through any struggles. My girlfriend, when I was talking about my dad the other day, I was telling her that I wanted to bring her home. And she says, well, I think the question that she asked me was something about liability. Aren't you worried about liability, or whether or not, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was just like this whole question that she was asking me about it. And I said to her, I said, I know that my dad is going to die one of these days. And for her, she was just totally floored by the concept that I knew that there exists this possibility that my dad might die sooner rather than later. And I said to her, I said, sweetie, we all have to die. I said to her, I have to die. And all of a sudden, she breaks out into this crying fit, as if she believed that there is a possibility of us escaping this thing alive. I mean, it was almost comical to see, somebody thinking that we can. So yeah, we don't have to have the struggle, I mean, sometimes we can choose how we respond to the struggles that we go through because we go through them in order to grow through them. We can respond to them in a particular way, but we don't get to, get a pass that says go directly to, to the end and then, just walk off stage as if we don't have to go through anything. So, yes, surrendering is a conscious decision. Giving up control, scary. Everybody must get stoned. Everybody must get stoned, huh? So so it becomes this whole thing of recognizing that, that we will have to go through some stuff. When it says it's a required course, only the time you take it is voluntary. It also says to us that we get to learn either through pleasure or through pain. The choice through pleasure or pain is like yours, because you get to choose whether or not you're experiencing pain in the moment. So even as I go through, I'm going through this process with my dad, but I don't go through it with this notion of begrudging or upset or sad about it. Yeah, it's a little labor intensive. Yeah, it requires a lot, but I feel so blessed to be here. I feel so blessed to be able to be and do the things that I'm doing and being, and to be a part of the process. I can truly sit back and say, I'm blessed. No matter what, I don't look at it as if it is something that I need to be sadder about, or complaining that I'm under duress or in pain because I'm in the situation that I am in. I choose to face it head on. I choose to do what I need to do in the moment without, getting all bent out of shape about it. Through pleasure or pain is a choice that you get to make. Now, remember, I don't know if you a Matrix fan or not, but it's so weird because even as I said that, I thought about the conversation that Neo had in the first one with the Oracle. And she said something to him about, she was like, poor Morpheus. And he says, what do you mean, poor Morpheus? And she says, you've got a decision to make. In one hand, you'll have you'll have the decision about Morpheus and Morpheus's life, and in the other you'll have this decision about whether to save your own life. And she says the choice that you make is up to you. And so a lot of times our choices are just like that. We get to make a choice at every moment on how we're going to see things, how we're going to operate, how we're going to proceed. And so if you choose like to take the simple route and say, oh, you know what, Morpheus gonna just die. Too bad. Peace out, bruh. If you took that route, then what? I mean, I'll tell you what, from experience, later on down the line, that lesson is going to come back around to you. We think we can escape, but when there is a lesson that is for your life, get it, you will. I mean, get it, you will. No matter how far you think you can run or hide or escape, you're going to get the lesson that's coming to you because it is there for you and for your own growth and for your own good. Just like the struggle that a caterpillar to a butterfly, just like that struggle that it must make in order for it to become all that it is supposed to be. We too must go through some stuff in order to become the people or the person that we're meant to be. We can't escape it. And so it becomes this thing of realizing that, you didn't create yourself, and the direction of your own creation, you may think that it's up to you. You may think that it's up to you, but you are not here for yourself alone. You are here for the entire sonship, and this entire sonship needs you. Because without any part of it, the sonship itself would be bereft. And so, as I look at this and as I think about it, and going forward, there's so much, I guess, that, that I wanted to or that I'm going to talk about. I don't know in what venues I'm going to talk about it, but there's so much to be learned or to be gleaned from the experiences that we have here. I know for me, I've had some things that and been catapulted face forward into what I thought was that fiery furnace experience. And for me, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, it seems as though I've had some rather intense experiences that caused me to check myself. But because I didn't run from them, because I faced them head on, because I chose not to see myself as a victim, because I understood that it was happening for my growth and for my good, I was able to step towards it. When we understand that, that we are in the midst of a loving God, a God that is love and is not going to bring anything to you for your harm. As a matter of fact, when you know that you are one with, knowing that you could never be harmed, never be hurt, never be any less than whole, perfect, and complete, when you understand your invulnerability, that you simply cannot be hurt, then you too will be able to step forward and say yes to the process of life, yes to the experience of life, yes to the lessons that are given to you, yes to the things that even appear in the moment to be painful, but are really there for your growth. You'll be able to say yes. And that's really what we're here to do, to understand that there is no separation, to understand that this process requires that we step forward to grow into the people that we are, that we're meant to be. So, wow. So, in this sense, the creation includes both the creation of the Son by God and the Son's creation when his mind is healed. This requires God's endowment of the Son with free will, because all loving creation is freely given in one continuous line in which all aspects are in the same order. All of them are in the same order. So, you guys, with that, I am going to say sayonara because it's time for me to go. This has been Sandra Bishop at sandrasaidit.com. You can follow me on Twitter at sandbishop. I'm on Ustream. Sandra Said It is my Ustream channel, but if you go to sandrasaidit.com, you will see it all there. I will be back here on Wednesday at 7, from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and I hope to see you then. Remember, I love you. I love you. I love you. And thanks, Dove. Thanks, everybody. And just keep doing you. All right. I'm out. See ya. All right. And I'm out there too. So I'm going to stop.